Hello and welcome to another Career Revolution interview series. The place to be inspired and learn from people like you and I who've done unconventional things, taken the road less traveled to totally revolutionize their career. Today I'm very excited because we have on the show Holly Jade Courtney, who I refer to as a creative communicator. Her business Aitch Create is a consultancy, creative business consultancy. She works with the solopreneur, the little guy, the independent small business owner. And I love that about her Edge. And without any further ado, I'm going to bring her on stage. Hi, Holly. Welcome.
Hi, Hi, Licia. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's wonderful to have you here talking to us and sharing some of your story. So you and I have been in each other's orbit for a while. Back in the day when you were flying with some big brands, some big festivals, some big marketing stuff. I don't want to talk too much about that. I really want to focus on where you're at now because this is the revolution and it's such an exciting and interesting place, but I'm going to build up to there. And I want to start with some of your early career influences and like what you planned your career to be when you sort of finished secondary school and started heading out into the world. And the reason why I want to ask that is because from where I stand, you are so multifaceted and talented within the marketing, communication, branding, business strategy space and place. Tell me about what you wanted to be and how you sort of evolved to this gorgeous Aitch Create business that you're running now.
Firstly, thank you for all the nice things that you've said. I knew quite early on that I wanted to be a writer. In school, even I was writing fictional stories, doing a lot of reading. And I studied journalism and PR. That's essentially what I majored in a kind of media communications degree. And that was my foothold into the marketing industry. And I found my way by being a music writer. It inadvertently became my beat, as you would say. I kind of fell into it by chance, and it very much took me by hold for like 10 years. And I was very entrenched in the music world and I loved it. It kind of evolved through that into the music marketing side of things and doing marketing and PR in the event space, which took me away from the words a little bit. So I'm kind of circling back, big full circle back to the words happening at the moment.
Oh, I love that. And when you say music writer, I didn't realize that. Do you mean writing music, writing songs?
No, so like a music journalist.
Okay, writing on the music.
About the music scene, specifically electronic music.
Okay, all right, so interesting.
The whole world.
I'm sure, and as you say, sort of like full circle back to the word. And this is what I've so enjoyed watching from afar. You know, as I said, we've been in each other's orbit, but I love what your posts on LinkedIn. I love the information that you put out and how you structure everything with such intention.
Yeah. I think interestingly, you mentioned kind of the branding stuff and where I've kind of come today. I kind of feel like my first branding project was myself. Before we even really knew what that was in terms of the digital space. I started blogging on MySpace before people actually had blogs, before I started working in social media, before there were such things as social media courses. So I was kind of really at the front of that. Even when I finished studying, I kind of almost graduated into the digital age, but that hadn't necessarily been what I'd been studying for 3 years. So I kind of came into the workplace at the convergence of studying traditional media and marketing, but arriving
into from the textbook as it came out.
Exactly. When PR was about throwing launch parties and doing media drops. and arriving into the digital age, which was really more about digital bylines and digital PR. And this was at the beginning of that time where I could just see this thing brewing online where the media and the marketing stuff I'd studied was all going to blow up basically in the online space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the way you talk, it makes me feel that you kind of followed where you were going in a sort of meta sense. You were holding how you were moving in your career at the same time as seeing what was happening with the industry and what was starting to develop and grow. And that to me is so much a part of what I have come to learn about you, is that you're very multifaceted within your industry and within your niche. You are an expert, wordsmith and creative communicator, and you've got the craft there, but you've got this big vision hold where you're able to see where that will take you and how it will grow. So I love that you're an Aitch Create. I love that you've taken it, taken the bull by the horns, so to speak, or taken the reins, and you're now completely in control of the work that you do. And I know that you've got some very strong feelings and thoughts about the entrepreneurial landscape, about women within the entrepreneurial landscape and so forth. Did that really sort of converge into you and Aitch Create? That in itself was a bit of an explosion and a revolution just there.
Yeah. I think I've been redesigning my offering for the last almost 2.5 years, figuring out what direction I wanted to go in, and kind of just intuitively feeling the way forward, based on some of the projects that I took on post music marketing and post some of the stuff I was doing pre-2020. I started working with creatives and solopreneurs, people who are are incubating their business ideas and wanting to actually launch them online. I worked with a really incredible floral designer based in Italy, and she was somebody who did these magical pieces of floral art, but she didn't know a thing about social media. So on the one hand, it's actually a bit of a passion for teaching and mentoring people to enjoy that space, because once you understand it, you can really enjoy being there. You can tap into your inner creator and create the brand world for yourself. It's not necessarily about outsourcing it to someone else to do it. And I think that's been a fundamental step in me realizing I've done a lot of managing the brand pages. I want to now help other people do it for themselves, or just kind of share my knowledge more so than having to do that stuff myself. And I think that's where that bigger picture stuff is coming in, is actually helping people build their brands and their businesses through what I'm doing.
But you come alongside people and allow them, as you say, to sort of get excited and jump into the branding side and sort of fall in love with the potential of what they could do to brand their business, and then guide them through it. I mean, if you ask any entrepreneur, any solo entrepreneur, what are some of the hardest things that you face as, stepping into your entrepreneurship journey? Geez, that word, it's a big one. I'm battling to say it. Entrepreneurial journey. I don't know where the ship came in. It's like tech stack. Oh, all the tech stuff. And then it's what sometimes we've heard people talk about, the hamster wheel of content creation and having to put themselves out there, life coach, storyteller, career strategist, business strategist, you name it. That's our niche. We're not necessarily specialists in the other area, but you are, and you enjoy bringing people's light into that. Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, it's you in your summary. I'm going to read it back to you, because you talk about inspired journey through creative intelligence.
Yes.
This creative intelligence, this to me is how you work alongside your clients. It's to bring through their creative intelligence.
Yeah, I think it's actually rooted in quite a holistic space. The industry at the moment is very technical. Even these people on LinkedIn who are telling you, how to build your entrepreneurship business in 5 easy steps, just do these 3 things every day, this kind of stuff that's like permeating at the moment. And I think it's so much more intuitive than that. For me, creative intelligence is just around surrounding myself with everything that inspires me in all the places I hang out. So if I'm on LinkedIn, I want to see the people I admire and I want to see what they're sharing. If I'm on TikTok, I actually recently just loaded up my TikTok account with some interesting things to follow. I want to see the stuff on there that I want to see. Same with any kind of channel, really. Like it's almost like being growth minded in every place that you might spend time in your digital environment. And there's so much to draw from that, and how to creatively feed that back into the work you're doing, and to gain ideas and things that you can obviously share with your clients. So no, it's not necessarily a very formalized process. I really enjoy the grittiness of it, of sitting with someone who's got an idea for a project or a business, but they haven't actually even thought of the whole thing yet, and helping them get to that conclusion, and then them going, aha, you've literally just shattered the ceiling of what I can potentially do here. And I had that with a client recently who wants to import and sell a product here. And I said, well, why don't you start a bigger, platform, and you can import lots of different products. And she hadn't even thought beyond the one product yet. So now we're starting to design a brand that can be an umbrella, store for different things that she wants to import in this kind of wellness space. And I love that kind of creative process is really gritty, and it takes the two people, or whoever I'm working with, to really come together in an open-hearted way, and to unpack together and build it together. So it's not like a formal offering that you can say, oh, well, I'm going to write your content posts, I'm going to set up your Instagram page. It's so much more layered than that, and it's actually so much more exciting.
And that's what you were saying earlier about, you started to see how your industry, your formal journalism, learning, PR, that sort of classical marketing sort of script was converging within this digital space, and how you've sort of woven through that. I love that you talk about it being such a holistic process, and I really resonate with the fact that you said it's taken you 2.5 years to kind of reword it, go back to it, because it's an evolving and changing thing, and you're there to meet the evolution of your clients. Here we talk about career evolution. You once made a statement though. You said to me, you have to take a radical chance on yourself. And I want to go back to that statement. Tell me about you taking a radical chance on yourself. And it's that we're talking about this, but what do you mean by radical? What do you mean by that?
So I've actually just had this experience, and I think it's something that a lot of people are experiencing at the moment, where because of the pandemic, they might have had to make some different choices. I had to step out of my business for a year to recalibrate what I was going to be about going forward. And I went into an agency, and I was freelancing there for just over a year. And, you get comfortable, with your, seat at the desk, the salary arriving into your bank account every month. And although I was just freelancing, you kind of suddenly get stuck, I guess, and forget how you were as an entrepreneur. And I have, as I said, been redesigning my offering, and I've started sharing it, but I suddenly felt stuck. And then I had to actually have a check-in with myself and go, it's because you're still sitting at this desk job, and you actually are trying to inspire people to design their dream businesses. I actually have to get back into mine. And so that's what I've recently done. I'm kind of just giving myself the month to drop back into it, working on a few things to get me going. And I'm really excited, because now I can build out the offering that I've been putting together and really step into it. And I'm really excited about what that looks like, and the kind of people and clients that I'm going to attract.
And, I remember some years ago you talking about the morning pages, writing, keeping that creative flow, creating a consistent habit to bring your creativity into place. And that really struck me. And you talking about coming back to the word, your circle, your career's done this full circle. And when you were talking about being within the agency or having the freelance work and feeling a little bit stuck, I resonate with that because I see that within my clients' journey, and it's not industry specific. It's about hitting a stuckness within their creative impulse. And that whether it's creative could be within the supply chain industry, right? Creative can be, an actuarial scientist. Creative is not necessarily creative industry as such. It's your creativity. It's what you choose to put out and design and want. And so often that friction comes within our career when we are stuck. It's not, and yes, there are external factors that might lead to that stuckness, but more often than not, it's an internal state of mind that created the stuckness. And that's the thing that's hard to dissolve, because we don't want to believe that we're the ones that have created the stuckness. Well, it's this, it's that, it's the company, it's the boss, it's the job. But in fact, it's within our own mind. It's
I've got a beautiful saying for that. It's probably quoted by somebody, but it goes, you accept what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
And the power of stepping into yourself is actually backing yourself and trusting yourself.
And taking that radical chance. So you took an absolutely radical chance on yourself. I mean, we're speaking from a position of, given the choice, you can take a radical chance. When you're in a space and a place and you're able to make that choice, jump and take that completely radical chance.
Something that I did was feeling that stuck and not being as creatively stimulated as I wanted to be. I actually signed up to do a writing course. It's a fiction course that I'm doing through Oxford at the moment. And it's one of those things as well about, creating that intelligence and that creative atmosphere that is your mind and your energy, and just spending time in that space. It's not something that's immediately going to be a monetizable thing. I'm actually just doing it because it stirs that fire in me and it makes me spend time doing what I love.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, there's, if anything, we've now evolved to a space of knowing that we are our authentic selves within our career. Our career identity is our identity. It's who we are. It's everything that we've brought with from the past and everything that we aspire with for the future. And it converges in that one day at that one space, in the meeting room, in the project, wherever it is. And it's how we are able to make sense of that for ourselves, for it to be defined as success, or this is the space and place that I want to be. And it is so interesting how we're all on this massive career evolution. Completely.
And I think the journey of the soul and the career evolution are closer together now after the last few years. People are more about wanting to do what actually makes them happy as well.
Absolutely. We've been shown a version of, what if everything shifted and changed? What would we then call as important and count? And I love too, and it's something that's so driven by the creative industry, and it really started there, how people are choosing work because of people they can work with, not names or companies or even brands. It's the people that they're following. So the brand and the company and that corporate thing isn't actually what interests us. We're following the people. So when the good people leave and move, all the other good people go and follow them. And I really look forward to seeing how that's going to filtrate through into other industries, because it's not as obvious yet, So, Holly, I want to talk a little bit about some of the sort of career catalysts that possibly have woven their way through in your career. And one of the things that I want to ask is, because of this awareness and self-actualization journey that you've been on yourself, I want to talk about the sort of quality that you feel that has served you most in your career growth. And I also want to loop back to, if you had to start all over, what would you say or do? So it's that quintessential, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out now? And I mean, it's a lot of learning. It's about go out there, live, learn, and figure it out, and then come back. One can't sort of jot that down. But let's talk about the personality quality, the element, that element that has
I think
helped?
I think it's having a bold voice.
Mm,
It's actually very hard to have that in the world, and it's very hard to be silenced by your experiences as well.
mm,
And I find that when I get quiet, and maybe it's because I'm processing, and maybe it's because it's not the right time to share, or you're going through something else, and so that version of yourself isn't as important, but
mm,
you actually start to feel like you're disappearing. And
mm.
when you are really rooted in yourself and you can stand in your power and actually share, I feel like that is the most powerful thing. Your own voice in terms of building your career is one of the things that will be strongest.
Oh, absolutely. And whatever it takes to get you back to your own voice, whatever it takes to get you in the space that you can feel a great sense of ownership over it. Love that. That's absolutely it. I think we're going to keep talking about this for many, many more moons to come
Well, that
because I
one.
really enjoy that. And so let's touch on, if you were to start it all over again, what
Mm.
what what would be different, or what?
So there's an expression, in generally in any kind of creative field, which is do the work. And there's no way that you can build and
Short
achieve
circuit
anything
that.
without doing the work. And whatever that is for you, it might be about making a lot of ugly art before you make a masterpiece, might be writing a lot of bad poems, whatever it is. That's the only thing, that iteration of earning and building on your skill set is the thing that's actually going to make your career. And if I had to go back and do it all over again, I think I would pay a lot more attention to the direction that things, the ship organically kind of bobbed me in, and being less on the wave and more, a bit more instructive about what my true agenda was or intention was. And I think I would have been more cautious not to lose the words, the writing for 10 years, because that's essentially what's happened, working, kind of moving over into PR and marketing. And it's all very fast, and it's, piles of content and post after post being pumped out, and managing all of those processes. You're not really in a deep incubative mindset where you're writing and reflective. And it's funny because at the time we spoke a while ago, I was doing my morning pages, and that's another thing that I have on my list to return to. And part of doing this writing course is when I get in that moment of doing one of the assessment exercises and writing, it's like I get lost, and it's just such a happy place to be. So I think to focus on doing the work, but also be mindful of where it is you're trying to go, and don't be distracted, because you might lose sight of something that was very core focus for you, and you might end up somewhere completely different, because the trends in the market and the necessity just kind of pulled you that way. So I guess that's kind of a bit of a confession on my part as well, is that I think I also just bobbed along and ended up in the advertising industry, whereas if I had maybe been more focused on the writing, I might have ended up more in the publishing space. So that's kind of the difference that it could be.
Interesting and very, very sage advice in terms of do the work and stay present and in control. It's, I mean, I use the expression, be the buyer in your career, not the seller of your skills, because the traditional model of get a good qualification, work hard, the company look after you, climb the corporate ladder of success. I mean, that's all doesn't exist. It's a complete big lie, but it disempowers us. Nobody really says, take control, decide what you want, figure out what you love to do, and become an expert at that. And that's really what you're talking to a little bit, is don't get distracted by the things that come along the way, and the places people want you to go, because is that really where you want to go? Is that,
Exactly.
it's about knowing yourself and
And there's
holding
so many of
on the
these
reins.
things as well.
Yeah.
Like, it can be, you might, end up detouring and taking lots of nice pictures for your Instagram pages, and end up, working on your photography skills, but it might take you away from the thing that you were taking photos of. It's like all of these things are actually distractions as we become part of the marketing machine. This kind of, and on the one hand, I extol the good virtues of creating a beautiful ecosystem to communicate your brands. But on the other hand, the downside is that you can be purely distracted and end up far away from what you intended to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is opening up another whole conversation for another time, but you spoke about TikTok. There's never been a more exciting time to be able to leverage your voice and leverage your brand. Never been a more exciting time to be able to step out from home, and make an impact. And there's so many amazing people that I follow, particularly in a local context, are South Africans who have now, they were creators, they were content creators, bam, they're influencers. And phew, where have they gone now? Well, they've gone to a space and place that I find boring. No, I'm not really interested in following them anymore.
Right.
It's like that evolution, something about that ecosystem that, as you say, that takes you to, is that where?
It's also the time because you're either a consumer or you're a creator. Yeah. And social media is designed for us to all sit and look at what's going on. And you're right. Some of these people who've, I guess it's great for them, have made personalities of themselves. But if you're just sitting around watching what they're up to, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's, do the work. You've got to do your own stuff to get somewhere.
Go back and do the work here. Tell us about what exactly is Morning Pages. What does Morning Pages mean?
So it's a writing routine that was created by Julia Cameron in her book, The Artist Way. It's a beautiful book just around coming as a creative, coming back towards yourself and following this kind of 12-chapter journey. But very early in the book, she brings in this practice of the morning pages as a way to just put out everything onto the page in the morning before you start your day. It's basically stream of consciousness writing. And it's supposed to it's not supposed to be pretty. It's not supposed to be structured. It's not supposed to be even something that you can look to later and go, oh, like, look at this time I was having in my life. It's really not even supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be just getting out everything that's bugging you. That's, your stressed energy, your nervous energy, whatever you're anxious about, whatever's on your mind, and kind of just like processing that out of you, because then you're clear to go forward and do whatever else is the next creative thing you can do with your energy without all of that holding you back.
Ah, fantastic. Well, so interesting.
I'm hold it to myself.
Well, so many things to come. And I think we're going to keep talking. I think there might be some exciting things in the future that you and I could work on, because your work is necessary and it's important and it's needed. So thank you for the career revolutions that you went through.
Thank you.
And the work and the shifting and the changing that you've done, and for staying true to who you are, coming back, circling back, taking your time and being absolutely yourself. And I love that, taking a radical chance on you and your business. As we wrap up, tell us about what are the next what's to come for you. I mean, everybody can follow you in the comments, whether you're catching this on LinkedIn Live, whether you've got it on the podcast on Anchor FM, or even on YouTube. You'll see access to find Holly and her business Aitch Create. But just give us a little bit of a what's to come for you.
Okay, so the writing work is back on the table. I'm really excited to take on some cool new writing projects. I've also been working on a couple of workshops, kind of one-on-one working sessions with clients, helping them to develop their brand story, which is called Storyfy Your Brand. I've got another one called Owner Persona, which is around developing your brand persona. Embolden Your Voice, which is about building out your brand's voice. All of these little workshops are kind of hand-holding. You can do one or two, or you could do all of them if you're really doing a deep dive in building your brand. And essentially, this came from the realization that people are starting cool little brands and businesses, and they get their logo done and a color palette for their content posts, and they think they're A for away. But I really think you need to know what you're saying, or you need to know who you are before you start speaking and selling. And there's a really great creative work to do there, but I think it really enriches the brands and it enriches the businesses that you're building for longevity, as opposed to just getting on, whatever digital channels and shouting and hoping for the best. And I find that we're in a space where we really need to see and feel and be moved by these deeply considered brands. So I'm excited to do that work.
That sounds amazing. It makes me feel like the sort of the overarching message is slow down, take stock, and speak with relevance rather than running, being all things to everyone and being everywhere. And yes, never been a better time to get your name out there and your voice out there with all the leverage in every social media, but not everything is for you. So it's that slow down. I love that. Own a persona. I love the different workshops that you're doing. So thank you. We're going to keep talking. I think it's just never enough time in this half-hour interview series. But Holly Jade Courtney, thank you from Aitch Create for sharing and giving us
really
your...
great to chat with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
It's a super duper pleasure. And everybody can catch and follow you in the... Oh, sorry, I've got a call coming through. Everyone can follow you in the comments and stay tuned for more and follow Holly on all of her spaces and places. And thank you for your time, Holly. We'll see you on LinkedIn.
Thanks. Ciao.
Bye.